Alright, hello, welcome back to the stream. So today we're going to be working some more on the Gunforged demo. There are quite a few things to do still, and today is probably going to be a little bit of a shorter stream because I have to get to an appointment later, but still plenty of time to get some good work done here. So yeah, before I get into it, I want to remind everyone that I have a number of ways you could support me in the description below, most notably the my Udemy courses. I have a C# course and a GD script course, so if you're interested in learning how to build a game in the Godot engine, check those out if you're interested. Also, wishlisting Gunforged, subscribing, liking the video, all of that good stuff is a great way to support me as well. So with that all out of the way, hello, Suhid. Welcome back to the stream. Good to see you again. So what I've been working on recently is redoing how the gun stats work. Or not work, but how they look. So I'll show you what I have currently. I've been unifying this with the style of everything else. So I've got now the engraved label style for the gun stats here, and also have a new way of displaying the runes underneath this runes header here. So I think this just looks thematically the same. And then of course, when you're doing the comparison, you still have the arrows and then the color coding. So red being bad, green being good. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on right now. There are some improvements I could make to this, but I think what I want to do is just kind of see how it's looking. In game. And then make some tweaks from there. But there's one thing that I want to do first, which is I want to actually decrease the padding on the side here. So make it take up more space horizontally. Because I'm worried about this scroll bar here taking up a little bit too much space. So I think what I want to do is in this content container here, we've got the passive ingot banner, and then we've got these things. So I think what I need to do is add a margin container in here. Put those both, well, put a VBox container again underneath that, and put those both underneath that. Okay, so that broke some stuff, but that's all right. Let's do theme overrides, give that a constants of 0. Now, why would this be wrong all of a sudden? That's a good question. Does this need to be set to expand? There we go. Okay, so now we're basically back to the way we were with this new structure, but now that I have that margin container there, there's a little known, or at least I think it's a little known trick that you can do with margin containers. You can actually give them negative margins. So that looks all fine. So the negative margins are interesting. So I can take this margin container now here, and because I'm trying to reclaim some space here, I can go to my margin left and I could do -2, and that will move it over to the left. I could actually do -4 as well. So I could do something like that, and I can reclaim that space so it bleeds out. And the reason I need to do that is because the panel container here has a content margin. So the only way for me to reclaim some of that space that's being taken up by the panel container is really to introduce a margin container with a negative margin. And then I can do the same for the right-hand side as well, but then I'm going to need to fix my scroll bar here. So this scroll bar also has a margin container, I think. Yeah, so this assembled gun stats is a margin container. Get rid of that margin right, or no, that's right. Where do I want to put the scroll container? Here, so this margin right will do 0. Okay, yeah, so there we go. So I've just reclaimed a bunch of space to the left and right. Now that might be too much space, but we are going to see what that looks like. Okay, so that's it's taking up more space. I think it's probably taking up a little bit too much space, like there's not enough breathing room now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just switch this to either negative, let's try -3, and if I need to, I'll do -2. The interesting thing about working with like a small canvas size is that 1 or 2 pixels can make a huge difference in terms of how everything looks and feels. Yeah, honestly, I think that's still just a little bit too thin, so I'm gonna do -2. So really, the margin container is not reclaiming that much space, but this, I think, is gonna feel a little bit more natural. Yeah, I think that looks good. Cool. So now there's just more space for these numbers and comparisons and whatnot to happen. Now, one thing that I can do is, so it's kind of awkward scrolling down. You're not really given an indication that like this text here kind of gets cut off weirdly. So I want to experiment with adding some kind of shadow or engraving there to make that a little bit smoother. So I might go ahead and do that. You didn't try that in Godot sometimes while writing CSS? Yeah, I don't think most people realize that you can do negative margins in a margin container. It actually works for a lot of the containers, like the VBox container and the HBox container. You can also do negative margins. So if you want to put some things together but overlap them. So if I go to my ammo bar, this gold label here, this gold label is actually an HBox container that has a separation of -2 so that it puts the text over the gold icon. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Okay. So yeah, so what's interesting is I have these scroll up and scroll down prompts, which I have disabled because they're not useful anymore, but I could probably modify this code to is at bottom scroll up prompt. Yeah, so I think I can just borrow this logic here, but I'm gonna need a different thing, because these prompts, these are what these look like. What does play in do here? Visible equals true, visible equals false. Yeah, so this prompt, I might just borrow the gradient, honestly. Can I just take this gradient and just bloop? Nice. Layout, container sizing, shrink begin. The issue with this, well, I guess it's not that big of an issue. It overlays the scroll bar, but I think I can fix that. And the way I would fix it is introduce another margin container here, like so. Turn off these margins here. Now I think what I need to do is make sure that these mouse events are ignored. And then for the margin right, I would just move it over that much. Something like that. And I can duplicate this one. Now this one, let's make this unique. We will reorient how the gradient works. I have no clue if that worked. Layout, container sizing, shrink end. There we go. So we've got our bottom and top gradients. Still might need to tweak this a little bit, but top gradient, bottom gradient. Okay, let's mark those as unique names. Let's get references to those. Node private, I'm just going to call these control top gradient. Node private control bottom gradient. So now in here, this would be top gradient dot visible equals true. Top gradient dot visible equals false. Bottom gradient dot visible equals true. Bottom gradient dot visible equals false. I guess I could simplify this. Bottom gradient dot visible is equal to not is at bottom. Top gradient dot visible is equal to scroll container dot scroll vertical greater than 0. Okay, that simplifies things a little bit. Let's go ahead and run it. Won't this make the top stat always blurred and hard to read? No, because I'm toggling the visibility of it based on the scroll. Yeah. Welcome back to the stream, by the way, Boogie W. So this is what it looks like now. It still looks a little bit out of place. It might be out of place because, I mean, there's a hard edge here, which is not good. That just kind of looks unnatural. And the gradient is probably too tall as well. So if I modified the height, made it like 16 instead, that might help a little bit, but then I would still need to figure out something about how that yeah, so that looks a little bit better. I just need to make this look more natural now. I just need to make that look more natural. Actually, I'm curious. What happens if I change this to 1 pixel tall? Oh, it's not even going to work, is it? 2 pixel tall? Okay. This will kind of approximate a different approach that I was thinking of, which was just to use a solid line. Solid dark line instead. Yeah, see, that almost looks better. It still needs some kind of highlight or something. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what would be the best way of doing it. What happens if I change this bottom gradient here, this color, to the light color? A 5-pixel shadow, a very small one. I can try that. Welcome to the stream, by the way, Tyrell. Oh, I changed both of the colors. Okay, let's try. Five pixel shadow. 5-pixel shadow. That might look all right. I think the solid line was a little bit better, but I need to figure out. This is going to be a mess. I'm gonna try something. Get rid of that gradient. I have this dashed line here. I'm just curious to see if that gets closer to what I'm looking for. Spent a lot of time fussing about this little tiny UI thing, but that's all right. Okay, I think what I'm gonna do is, it seems kind of wasteful. Is that the right word, wasteful? Sprite crop, save this as, let's do, where is this being saved? Stats, yeah. Top, shadow. Actually, don't think I can just export the selection here. Bottom highlight, or let's just call it bottom shadow. Export, okay. So in here, top shadow there, bottom shadow there. Okay, so that kind of gets me kind of where I want to be. I might need, do I need some kind of outline around the whole thing maybe? Hello, Rune, I'm up for a change. 1:30 in the morning here, and the nurse just woke me like they do each few hours. Oh, you're in the hospital? I hope you recover soon. Maybe reducing the opacity of the gradient would help as well. I'm trying not to use any opacity in this game. I mean, there's some exceptions like this background here, but yeah, opacity just generally doesn't look good. So I'm trying not to use it. I think that's maybe why I didn't like the gradient so much. Six to 8 months recovery period. Dang. Well, I hope your recovery goes smoothly. And yeah, I'm sorry to hear about that. I also just recently had to spend a night in the hospital for a surgery, but I didn't have to stay up for long. It was just overnight. Hello, pseudonym. Way to diss opacity. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not saying opacity's bad. I'm saying it doesn't look good in this game. Whatever. Opacity can be dissed. I don't care. Be offended. Diss opacity. That's funny. Yeah, thank goodness for modern tech. How did people survive hospital stays without having a means to entertain themselves on the internet? I don't even know. You ever think about that? Just like, goodness. Thank goodness for cell phones, right? Okay, so I think that's looking better. What I want to do is, I want to see if I can add a little bit of like an extra rounding to this, maybe? Or somehow, yeah, I don't know how this is going to work. Oh man, I don't know how this is going to work. How is this going to work? How is this going to work? I might need to create... The interesting thing is that it's kind of dynamic, right? So the top doesn't show if it's fully scrolled up, and the bottom doesn't show if it's fully scrolled down. So I can't use something like a panel container And I also can't really add a boundary outline to it. Now what I could do, honestly, the easiest thing to do might be, the reason I can't add a little bit of rounding just to this file is because this can technically be any sort of width here. So if I were to add like an extra pixel here to give it an impression of rounding, I would basically have to make this the exact size, because if this sprite got stretched even a little bit, its dimensions would get thrown off. Now I could potentially use like a 9-patch rect to get around that, but that seems a little bit excessive to me. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to take a note of how long this this line is. So it's 126 pixels. So what I'll do is I will just make a sprite that's 126 pixels wide. Sprite, let's do file new, 126. We'll make it 2 pixels tall. Okay, so now what I can do is I can make that rounded shape that I want. And what I'll do is I'll just save over the top shadow, wherever it is. There it is. And then I'll just fill this color in. Oh, I can't do that. I actually need to rotate it a little bit. Not rotate it, but flip it. There we go. Okay, we'll save this one as bottom shadow. All right, let's see how that worked. Okay, so that works a little bit. So I get a little bit of curve here now, which is more in line with what I was thinking. Let's see if that alone just makes enough of a difference. And if not, we'll have to fix it. You know what? I think it's definitely subtle, but that might be enough, honestly. Like just that little bit of highlight alone gives it a little bit of depth. Now I could experiment with doing something like, I could add a shadow in here as well. I just choose a random color here. Oops, I hope I saved. Yeah. That might not work so well, but let's see. That actually looks fine. Yeah, maybe I'll experiment with that a little bit. Can you just do 2 pages instead of a scroll bar? I cannot. There's not enough space on the screen. Or unless you mean like tabs. Like being able to swap the pages, but yeah, I don't think that would quite work either, because I want people to be able to see as much as possible without having to flip back and forth. I know the scroll bar is kind of the same thing, but if it's not too much effort, would you check out my browser game on your stream? Not today, unfortunately, Sudo. Not today, unfortunately. But you are welcome to share the name of your game if you want other people to check it out. You weren't... You were not allowed any tech. Wow, that's terrible. That sounds very boring. Legume of Zeldoom. So if anyone's interested in the chat, check out Legume of Zeldoom. I'll also search it up Is it on itch.io or Doom World? Okay, I will check this out when I have time later today. Has its own domain. I see that, yeah, in the Google search results. Cool. Well, I'll check that out later today. Okay, so yeah, do I want to try sprite canvas size? Make it 3 pixels tall. Do this. Do that. Okay. So I'm going to open up the top shadow again. Sprite canvas size 3. Okay. Load default palette. Try that same purple color, I guess. Let's see how that works. Might need to play around with the colors a little bit, but I think maybe let's make these colors the same. Actually, I wonder what happens. What would it look like if I just did this? Take this, boom. Just flip it around. It's going to be kind of inconsistent with how I've been drawing everything else. No, I don't like that. Oops. Let's see. Okay, I'll just use the same color as that text. Whatever this color is. This one. So I'll use that as my color. So it's nice and consistent, and I think that will probably be good. Do you think you're spending too much time on minutiae? Not in this case. I mean, generally you should be careful of that, but the UI is something that the player is going to interact with a lot. So I think spending the time even to get the smaller details correct is a good idea. You have to kind of judge how minute something is based on how often the player is going to interact with it. There are certainly like features in this game where I just went, yep, that's good enough because the player is going to like barely notice it. But in the case of the UI, I think it's worth spending the time to make sure that everything's looking and feeling good because the player is going to be interacting with the UI quite a bit. Server backup. Want me to add your head as a playable character in my game? No, that's all right. I'll just check it out at some point today probably, but no need to do any extra effort. Do you feel you have more UI power from Godot, C# or HTML, CSS? HTML and CSS is undefeated in terms of styling capability. So if I could have HTML, CSS inside of a game engine, I would take that in a heartbeat. Godot is very powerful though. Like Godot's UI system, once you learn it, becomes really powerful and flexible as well. Okay. I think that's good. So let me commit those changes. And these are not called gradients anymore, right? I'm going to rename this top shadow, bottom shadow. And let's rename that in here. Top shadow, bottom shadow. I'm sure that will work, but might as well just give it another quick test, make sure nothing broke. And then I'll commit that. And then let me open up my Obsidian and let's see what kind of tasks are remaining to do. There's a lot to do for sure. So, endgame chest. Yeah, let's do that. I do want to do a little bit of playtesting with this new UI as well. Okay, everything seems to be working. Very nice. So let's go ahead and commit that. So chains, shadows for assembled gun ingot scroll bar. Okay, we'll give this a quick play test. I'm on a different branch too, so I'm gonna have to merge this back into master at some point. Hello, Christopher. Welcome back to the stream. Good to see you. My day is going well. How's yours? Got a lot to do today. It's like I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, it's going to be shorter today because I have an appointment to get to in a couple hours, but we'll go for a little while longer still. Maybe another hour or so. So let's see. Right, playtest. I don't want to play test with all these stats, sorry. I have to go up, rename this, rename this. Okay. A bit idle now, but otherwise pretty good. Well, sometimes that's not so bad being idle. Okay. I found out yesterday when I was working on Gunforged off stream that there was a passive that I had made that was not in the loot table. So there was a whole player passive that I put all the effort into and it just was never appearing in game. So that's cool. Does Godot have its own JSON parser, or do you use Newtonsoft? Yeah, so Godot does have its own ability to parse JSON, which you can call from C#. The problem is that doesn't end up being typed, I don't think. It just ends up being like a key value paired dictionary. So I use the Newtonsoft. I use the Newtonsoft library so that I can serialize and deserialize from C# classes, and then all the types are like mapped properly and everything. I think the newer versions of C#, also .NET, have some kind of like system library for parsing JSON as well, but I haven't used that. I'm familiar with JSON. Check out Electron browser. I have used Electron browser. I've made several applications using Electron. You want to learn from a game development? You don't want types. Why is that? So here's the passive. Oh, well, speak of the devil. This Surgeon passive was the one that was not appearing. So heal 1 health after each wave if you lose exactly 1 health during the wave. So that's an interesting one. So this is kind of designed for the play style that I still need to do some work on, where you want to intentionally take damage. but I'm going to take that because it sounds interesting. That's good DPS. Nice. So why not get Electron into your Godot C# project to use HTML, CSS, UI overlay? Sudo, if you can figure that out, then you will be my hero, because that would be awesome to do. I'm just not so sure that that's as simple as you might think. I'm going to scramble this gun, actually. Cal barrel. Oh, my DPS went way down, but I've got rune slots now. I can reclaim some of my DPS. Ooh, there we go. Okay, well, wasn't a total loss, I guess. Maybe I should do something about the gun scrambling. Maybe it should be... I don't know, maybe it should have a higher chance of generating a better gun. Or maybe it should be guaranteed to generate a gun with higher DPS. But the rest of it is randomized. That might be interesting. I have to think about that some more. I was always conditioned to write configurations as resource classes, scriptable objects in Unity. Yeah, that's a good idea, generally speaking, I think. Just thinking out loud, this is my tech stack. Yeah, I mean, I think if I could use HTML, CSS, and game dev, that'd be awesome. I just don't know how feasible it is to do that. Yeah, I don't know anything about like binding different things together. So I'm sure that would be, I know it would be a ton of effort to get Electron working with Godot, because then you'd also have to expose through the editor some kind of way of displaying the UI that you're writing and editing the UI that you're writing. There's a lot of effort to go into that for sure. I consider ECS antithetical to types, but maybe don't think that. Do you think you use ECS? I don't think I use ECS, but I also don't think ECS and types are concepts that are in conflict with one another. So I'm not sure. Maybe you're using types in a different way, in a different sense than I'm thinking. A type is just a definition of, you know, what kind of data is contained within any sort of like data container, right? And what kind of methods and what arguments the methods accept, etc. I think that you can use a statically typed system that also uses ECS. Like those are two different things, are they not? Increase health by 1 permanently. The control nodes are very good for layout. Honestly, they work as good as Flexbox. Yeah, I think, you know, actually the thing that I haven't done Android development in many years, so this could be outdated, but the Godot way of styling UI reminds me a lot of like the Android way of laying out UIs, which is basically like you just have a bunch of boxes that are stacked in different ways, and then you determine if they grow or if they shrink or what their minimum sizes are and everything. So when I started using Godot, what immediately struck me is how similar it was to the Android way of doing layouts. Again, this was like years ago, so I'm sure Android has a new fancy system of doing UI that is completely foreign to me, but you found types to be a useless middleman layer, and I favored using just JSON objects for entities. As for types, I use attributes like isEnemy. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, if you find that your project works better without types, then, you know, there's no reason to be dogmatically adhering to using types, but I think that the multiple inheritance problem is just entirely separate to whether you should use types in your project or not. Because I'm not using multiple inheritance. I'm using a composition-based design, but all my components are types, right? So I'm composing my entities out of modular behaviors so that there's no like base enemy class at all. There's no inheritance among the enemies. They're just built with components. But again, all of that is still using types. What do I want? Zap, I guess. I like this. This UI is feeling much more cohesive now. The previous UI was kind of ugly, so. Cow magazine. Why does this have 2 upgrade? Oh, that's just a straight DPS increase for that. I need to check how that upgrade indicator logic works. It might be that it shows 2 arrows if it's an upgrade for both guns and 1 arrow if it's an upgrade for a single gun. But I think I might change that to be 1 arrow if it upgrades at least 1 of DPS or rune slots across both guns, and 2 arrows if it upgrades DPS and rune slots at the same time for at least 1 gun. Let's take a look at that. What is it called? Upgrade indicator. Yeah. So rune upgrade indicators. So if left gun stats with parts replaced, damage per second. Okay, yeah. So it adds an upgrade indicator. Right. So it just says, are the rune slots increasing across either gun? Add an upgrade indicator. Is the damage per second increasing across either gun? Add an upgrade indicator. But I want this to be that's actually going to be a little bit trickier of some logic here. So I want to, I don't want to handle this right now, but let's just add a to-do in here. Shoot, I don't want to write a to-do in here. Make upgrade indicator show 2 arrows only if a gun has both DPS and rune count increment or increase. I hope I remember what that means when I revisit this. That just seems to make more sense to me though, because I just got confused about the upgrade indicator. My natural inclination was to believe, oh, 2 arrows means that it's upgrading 2 important stats on at least one of my guns, not that it's upgrading at least 1 stat across both guns. If I get Electron working in Godot C#, can you send me money? No, I'm also broke, I'm sorry. Maybe if you buy Gunforged when it comes out, I can send you your money straight back. How's that? You wouldn't use Electron in Godot as the backend. You would, as the backend would be your Godot game and the front end would be your web page that you render in a web view. Got it, yeah, yeah. How hard would it be to get a Hello World overlay working in Godot? I have absolutely no clue. My guess is probably very difficult. Does Godot even have like web view support? I've never actually seen. Yeah, there's like no web view support in Godot. Okay. I might need to reduce the frequency of those cow moos. That's kind of annoying, but it's also really funny, so. Shooting milk bottles at enemies. Need to add CEF as a GD native add-on. Let's do Zap again. I lose a rune slot, but the DPS, it's only 2. It's only 2 DPS. I'm gonna just keep going. Okay, I need some more accurate guns. This gun is like shooting milk bottles everywhere. Let's do stamina. That's a good one. Here we go. DPS increase. There. Sweet. What's with all of these freaking cow magazines? I'm drowning in udders over here. Why are those so common? Deals 75% increased damage per 1 missing health. Combustion, blazing trails. I don't really want any of these, so I'm going to say no to the heart sacrifice. Goodbye. My milk bottles are splitting now when they hit enemies. Get even more milk bottles. I just had an idea. I wanted to make a flame-based weapon. And I had it just as a boring flamethrower. Nope, this is going to be dragon gun. So much like the cow, it'll be a dragon that you hold and it shoots fireballs. That's much better. Let's take another zap. This always has a really nice DPS increase, this sniper magazine, but it has a 3 bullet capacity, so that's not the best. Rune slots. This has 3 rune slots on it. Dang. Might as well put the fire on that. Take this one. Add pierce and split to this one. I don't want to have my capacity drop to 3 though. Okay. So many milk bottles. There's a health. Thank you. Oh. Got a rune. What is that rune? Increased health by 2 permanently. Berserk. I'm gonna take... Let's take Berserk, because I do have that other passive. Again, with the capacity. Although... I could deal with going down to 5. And I get another Pierce. That's like the piercing milk bottles over there. This one is a good DPS increase. Might as well throw the shock grenade on that. Okay. Sweet. Okay. How long did it take to make this far? Do you mean in terms of getting to wave 8 or in terms of getting Gunforged to this point in development? I'm assuming you mean getting Gunforged to this point in development. So I've been working on the game for on and off for about 4 years, and it's undergone many radical changes. So if I had started knowing the idea that this idea from the start, if I had started on this iteration of the game from the start, probably would have taken about a year. But I kind of floundered around with the design of the game for quite a bit and took a lot of time off. Like there were a period of like 6 months at a time where I wouldn't work on it. Thunderstorm, nice. Let's take Thunderstorm again, why not? I've got some shock stuff, so put that one there. Cool. GD extension using ultralight to render HTML. Yeah, I don't know anything about that, so maybe it is easy. Getting the game to look like to talk to the single page application. Yeah, that's true. Have I made any money from games yet? I have made a little bit of money from my games, yeah. Most of my income is currently coming from my Udemy courses, but Gunforged is going to change that. My goal, what I really want to try for with Gunforged is I want to make 10,000 sales. So it's kind of a lot. It's kind of a lot, but at the same time, it's not. You know, finding 10,000 people to buy the game in a market of like hundreds of thousands or millions of players that would be interested in this kind of game sounds doable. So that's my hope. And then if we'll see what happens. But you know, if I sell a couple thousand copies, I'll still be happy. That health effect looks great. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Ouch. That's fine. I can take 1 damage. As long as I don't take another damage, I'll just heal that back because I got that passive. Oh, I guess I'll just take that health globe instead. Ouch. Let's see if I get healed after this. I forgot how it works. I think I should get healed. Yeah, there we go. Just something to note when giving info about different guns, sometimes less is more. Graphics look great, by the way. Did you do them yourself? I did do the graphics myself, yeah. Everything you see on the screen, I did myself. Let's do all clear. That's a huge DPS increase. Why is this so ridiculous? YOLO, though. Sorry, I'm just testing the scroll focus grabbing. So the nice thing about having a scroll bar here is that you can just mouse over it and use your mouse wheel. Fire rate down, capacity down, but DPS up. I don't like that, but I'll take it. What happens if I do another bullet split? I don't think those do anything when they're together. So what I could do instead is I could get ultra mega bullet splitting. Let's put bleed on that one and then bullet split here. Oh, is this boss wave? Here we go. Oh my gosh, my guns are so inaccurate. I am chunking him though. Easy money. Let's do movement speed. That sounds good. I'm gonna sell that. And I don't need anything from there. This is mayhem. Oh my gosh. Can't believe you've done this. Yeah, movement speed is really good. Yeah, I need to really, once the demo's done, I'm going to really think hard about what passives and affixes I can add to the game to enable certain playstyles. Like what I'm going to do is just try to like start with a playstyle that I want to happen. So like a playstyle that's based around intentionally taking damage, and then build up a bunch of affixes and passives that can specifically help that. I have a bunch of passive ideas and a bunch of affix ideas, but I just need to make sure that everything's coherent and synergistic, to use a word. But I think the way the passives are working for the demo, I think the passives are in a good spot for the demo. There are some passives that are weaker than others, but that's fine. You know, not everything needs to be on the same level in terms of power. Reload both guns on dash. You know what? I might take that one, because since I got such a low capacity, it might be nice. Rune slots goes down. That's probably fine. I'll take that one off. Equip that on my other gun. That's a big DPS increase. Wow. 457 to 546. Why is that such a high DPS? We'll take it. %5 chance to deal double damage. Let's sell that one. Okay. Oops. I didn't even try to dodge that one. Oh, there's a health globe. I'm getting a lot of health globes. Secret Service. Gain 1 bodyguard that intercepts damage. I don't really need that. I think I'm doing all right. I think I'd rather just take the increased health. Because now I'm actually getting to the stage where I can... what you call it? I'm getting to the stage where I can start intentionally taking damage. Because I have... Berserk. Deals 75% increased bullet damage per 1 missing health. So if I just take like 2 damage, or I could synergize that with Surgeon here. So if I take 1 damage intentionally, I could get a free 75% damage buff as long as I don't take another point of damage, I'll heal back that health. So let's see if I can do that. I'm going to try to intentionally take some damage and then try not to take any other damage. Hit me. Thank you. Oh, look, I already got a health globe, so. There we go, took some more damage. So I get a free 75% damage bonus. Where are all these health globes coming from? Why am I getting so many? That seems a little bit wrong. Maybe I'm just getting lucky, I don't know. Of course, I could just not pick them up, I suppose. I'm not going to pick that up. I want to use my passive to heal. Thank you. Ooh, there's a shop. Oops. Surgeon. Heal 2 health after each wave if you lose exactly 2 health. Nice. I'm going to take that. So, Surgeon now, I can synergize that even harder with the Berserk. Have you taken into consideration balancing and difficulty yet? And what your skill floor and skill ceiling for the game, you think? Yeah, I mean, I think obviously this game is geared towards people who like these kinds of hectic twin stick shooters. Like if you're not used to that kind of fast-paced action, then it's probably going to have a relatively high skill floor. But the point of the meta upgrade system that I have is to make it easier, the game easier as you invest in those upgrades. So there's definitely going to be some players that without any upgrades, they'll be able to beat the dungeon level over and over and over again. And there are going to be some players that have a hard time beating the dungeon level until they invest a little bit into the meta upgrade system, because you can get upgrades like an increase in your default number of stamina and an increase in your default amount of health. You can invest in upgrades that make health globes more common, so you get more opportunities to heal. And of course, there's also a lot of passives, right? There are some players that are going to go into the glass cannon passives because they're really good at dodging damage or avoiding damage. But then there are other passives that enable you to take damage without penalty. So like the Secret Service upgrade is basically just a free, you can take a hit of damage and it won't affect your health, right? So that's kind of how I'm approaching balancing, is like, I'm aware that there's going to be players of different levels, and so I think as long as I have a bunch of interesting passives and upgrades that are all designed for different play styles, I think that it's going to be okay for the majority of players. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. It'd be real cool if you check out my game now, that way we can communicate about it. I'm not going to do that. Sorry, Pseudo. Any plans to ramp up difficulty outside of a single level? Yeah, so the idea is the second arena and the third arena, those are going to be increasing in difficulty. So the graveyard is going to be more difficult in terms of the enemy attack patterns, in terms of the terrain and the obstacles that are in your way, and in terms of like the base enemy health. So the enemies are going to have harder attacks, they're going to have more health, and the arena is going to be more difficult to navigate. And then the third level is going to be the same story. It's going to be more difficult than the second level across all those dimensions. So that's kind of like how I'm going to manage difficulty. So the dungeon level is going to be the easiest level to beat. So here's the shop. Do I have enough money? As long as things don't become damage sponges just to be harder. Yeah, so that's another consideration. That's why I mentioned the enemy attack patterns actually get more difficult. So they do have a little bit more health, but what you have to consider too is that your base damage that you deal is going to go up as you invest in the meta upgrade tree. So your ability to get more loot, more DPS, that's going to increase as you invest in the meta upgrade tree as well. So the increase in the amount of health that enemies have is really just kind of like a minor offset to the power growth that you're going to have through the meta upgrade system. But yeah, I agree. Like, I don't like bullet sponges, and that's why the enemies are actually going to have more difficult attack patterns. Like, they're just going to be more difficult in terms of, you know, it's going to be harder to dodge their attacks. It's going to require more focus and more careful usage of your dashes and whatnot. They're not just going to be, oh, it has 1,000 health, you know. Is movement something that will change in difficulty, such as bigger arena with objects placed around? Yeah, so that's if I look at my graveyard level here. So the graveyard level is interesting because it's still a square shape, but each of these quadrants has a big area where you can't move. Like, this is terrain that will block your movement. So you kind of have like a cross shape that gives you the freedom of movement. And then you've got the corners here. And so that's more difficult because you can't just like, you know, you can't just like run in circles or whatever. And in order to dodge an attack, you might actually need to go like into the corner or something to avoid something and then come around the side. So this is the idea, like the arenas are going to have like different shapes. And the third arena, I think, is going to be kind of like asymmetrical, where it's going to have holes in the floor like this, but they're not going to be symmetrical. So you're really going to have to pay attention like where you're going. I still have to think about the third level a lot because I'm not quite sure yet what it's going to look like, but there's a current boss in Warframe in the endgame content, and it's just more health and armor that no matter how kitted your team is, it takes so long to take down. Yeah, I agree. I think that's really annoying. I really don't like bullet sponge games. It's always, I'm actually like, I go the other end of the extreme. I like games like Escape from Tarkov, where, you know, one well-placed shot from like a weak pistol can kill like a kitted guy immediately, you know? Yeah, thank you, Tech C6. Do I want to buy anything here? I kind of want to buy a shock affix because I have my thunderstorm passive, but I don't think I'm currently making use of that at all, so I'm gonna buy this. And I'm gonna put this, instead of the shock grenade, I'm gonna put that there. I'm gonna sell those things. Might as well sell that too. Oh, extract that, sell that. There we go. Now I've got my thunderstorm passive kicking off. It's kind of hard to notice, but when you see a bunch of lightning strikes come down from the sky in rapid succession, that's the thunderstorm. I think it does quite a bit of damage too. How much damage does it do? 300% DPS of your weakest gun, yeah. That does a lot of damage. It's a little haphazard though. Most of the lightning strikes actually end up missing, but the lightning strikes that do hit deal massive DPS. Oh, I keep forgetting to intentionally take damage. Let's take another stack of Berserk. And I can take, what, 2 damage? Yeah, so I'm going to try to take 2 damage intentionally. Okay, there's 1. Okay, there's 2. So now I'm really going to be doing damage. No, don't pick up the health. I don't want the health. I don't want the health globe. There's another passive in the game which has not been presented to me yet, which is that you heal 1 health automatically after every wave, but health globes stop dropping. So that would be perfect for a playstyle where you want to intentionally take damage. But like I said, I have not yet been presented with that opportunity yet. So, but if I am, I'm going to take it, because then I'll get potentially 3 health across my surgeon and my, well, no, that wouldn't work, because if I took 3 points of damage, my surgeon wouldn't kick in. But disabling health globe drops would be awesome. Another shop, huh? What do we got here? Your shop is garbage. I don't want any of that. Well, what is that actually? Fire rate increases as magazine depletes. I don't really need that. Another berserk or zap again? I gotta stack the berserk. I gotta stack the berserk. You know, blood is nice, but I think I just want to put as much shock on enemies as possible so I can proc that thunderstorm. Maybe I'll put the 2 stacks of bleed on that. I could reroll if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. Oh, I need to intentionally take some damage here. There's 1, there's 2. And currently, the way that it's working out, depending on how much money you spend during the run, it's going to be possible to leave the dungeon with like 100 to 150 gold. And I would say the average cost of a meta upgrade is probably around 150 gold. So after a couple of runs, you should be able to fill out quite a bit of the upgrade tree. And of course, I think the rewards will increase for the harder levels as well. Another berserk, 300% increased bullet damage per 1 missing health. Let's do it. So yeah, I'm gonna take 2 damage again. So I'll be doing 600%. Wow. Okay, there's my 2 damage. Lowrider Spider is going to not know what hit him. The tricky thing, though, is that if I take another point of damage, I'm not going to heal because the Surgeon passive requires I take exactly 2 damage. So I have to be very careful. The good news is I'm killing things so fast that it's actually much easier to dodge things. Whoopins. Oh, I need that rune. Thank you. I don't want that health. I could do Secret Service again. I don't want that, actually, because I'm trying to take damage. I could just take increased health, or... No, let's do increased stamina. So I've got 3 dashes now. 10% chance to fire the other gun. Wow, look at that DPS increase. Holy moly. And capacity increase too. Yep, put that over there. So now I've got a worm receiver, a cow freaking barrel, and a bubble magazine. This game is ridiculous. I like how you're taking into consideration how different playstyles need different passives. Stacking also seems really cool. Yeah. And the thing is too that the loot tables in the game are biased in the player's favor. So if you start building toward a certain playstyle, like let's say that you start getting a bunch of blood items and you want to do a blood build, the way that the loot tables work for the affixes and the passives is that anything that is associated with blood actually becomes more common in the loot table. It's not a lot more common, but it becomes more common than it otherwise would be. And the point is that I want to still have an element of randomness, but also make it more likely that you're going to be able to achieve the build that you want to achieve. Because one of the most annoying things, like in Slay the Spire, there was always a build that I tried like to get every run on the poison character, and it was just so hard to get the items that I wanted to get for that build. It was like once in a blue moon I would get the items and it would be great. I want players to have a little bit of control. I want you to be able to achieve more often than not the build that you want to get. And of course, there's still some randomness. So even though you're trying for a certain build, there's no guarantee you're going to get it. But it is more likely because the loot tables are biased. I never really studied the game you are making. Is this the test area, or is this game like Brotato or Soulstone where there's an arena instead of dungeon exploring? Yeah, this is just an arena. It's just, that's it. The game is 100% combat. There's no exploration. So it's exactly like Brotato, basically. Actually, the Gunforged used to be like an Enter the Gungeon clone. But I found out that was really difficult to do with the exploration. And honestly, I actually don't like Enter the Gungeon that much. I don't think that the exploration is very compelling at all. So I was like, well, there's no point to this exploration, really. The combat is the best part. So I'll just make the experience like Brotato and the other games like it, Vampire Survivors. I think the genius of those games is they found out, well, if the combat is the most important part and getting like these ridiculous bonuses is the most important part, then why not just make the game entirely focused on that instead of adding a bunch of bells and whistles like exploration and stuff. Like, I'm not saying that exploration is a bad thing for certain games. I'm just saying that there's a whole new genre here, which is basically just combat arena, you know, and I think that's really cool. So that's when I learned about Brotato and Vampire Survivors and all that stuff. That's when I switched this game to be more along those lines rather than like Enter the Gungeon. Oh, thank you, William. That's interesting that you say the demo on Steam is fun because I'm working toward the new demo now. I think it's going to be even more fun. But the fact that you like that old, outdated version of the demo, I think is a good sign. So thank you. Thank you for letting me know. We're about to get to the lowrider spider. We got a couple more waves to go. I'm just going to stay still until I take some damage here. There we go. Nope, don't want that health globe. Thank you. And the other thing that's, I think, pretty fun about this game... Oh, dang it. The other thing that's pretty fun about this game is that every enemy you kill has a chance to drop gold. And gold is the meta currency. So gold is the currency that you use to unlock your permanent progression. And so because gold is determined to drop on a per enemy basis. Oh no, I just took a 3rd point of damage. Shoot, I'm not gonna heal. I'm not gonna heal. Oh, this is bad. Oh no, that's bad. Because gold is on a per enemy basis, you're incentivized to kill as many enemies as quickly as possible, because that means that you're going to get more gold. Surgeon. I can't take another surgeon. I can't take another one. I don't even have 3 health to spare. Let's do this one. Tag your it. Let's sell these. Thank you, Snup Bill, for the IDR 20,000 with the message Yummers. Very much appreciate that. Thank you. Very generous. Hello, Vishal. Welcome back to the stream. Good to see you. Let's drop this. Thunderstorm. Nice. 15 enemies with shock. Okay. There is a meta upgrade you can purchase, which will allow you to interact with the well multiple times. So if you have the gold, you could potentially... Ooh, I need that. You could potentially get like 3 passives out of the well. But of course, you have to make that decision because, again, gold is the currency that you use for the in-game stuff. So, like, you spend gold at the well and you spend gold at the shop and to reroll weapon parts and whatnot. But every bit of gold you spend during your run is a bit of gold that you're not going to take with you for the meta upgrades, right? So you kind of have to be careful. Like, I have 73 gold. I could just spend all that in this run on rerolls and stuff, but I want to bank some of that or a lot of that for the meta upgrade system. So you kind of have to be really careful how you manage that resource. Gee, dang it. Wait. Oh my... Wait a minute. Why didn't that work? Didn't I take 2 damage? Oh, I didn't. I took 1 damage. I might have to change how that works, because I think the way it works is it compares your starting health. Oh my gosh, this is going to be bad. So that Surgeon passive, I think what it does is it compares your starting health to your ending health, and if the difference is 2, in my case, then it will heal back your 2 health. But I think it would be more appropriate for to use the exact amount of damage that you're taking. So the reason I thought I was going to heal there is because I took a point of damage, I got a health globe, and then I took another point of damage intentionally, thinking that, oh, I took 2 damage, therefore I'm going to heal 2 health. But that didn't happen. And now I'm disappointed as a player, and now I think that the game dev sucks because his passive was worded incorrectly. And so now I'm going to uninstall and refund the game and leave some hate mail. So in order to avoid that, let's change how that works. Change Surgeon to count absolute damage taken instead of difference between starting and ending health. Okay. I think that's going to make more sense. And that's just going to be more forgiving for the player as well. That is a change that's going to be in the player's favor. So, yeah, that'll be better. I got completely destroyed by my own game design because I thought I was smart. Oh, I'll just take 1 more damage from this last enemy during the wave and I'll get 2 health out of it. And that didn't happen. And now I'm just like, I'm salty about that. I actually am salty about that because now I'm going into the boss wave with 1 health and no way of protecting myself. So yeah, my only hope really is to just deal as much damage as possible. All right, Lowrider Spider, let's go. Where are you? Luckily, I'm doing a ton of damage because of all my missing health. I just have to be very careful. Woo! I did it! Whoa! Nice. Oh, my zap killed the chest immediately. There's supposed to be a chest there, but... Nice. Alright. 1,300 enemies killed, 351,000 damage dealt, 22 damage taken, 20 amount healed, 5,390 bullets fired. And I got 88 gold from that. Oh, that's the end of the demo. I'm not purchasing your game. So yeah, I'm playing as if this is a demo. So again, the demo, you're going to be able to accumulate the meta currency in the demo. So you can play the demo as much as you want. You'll only be able to play the dungeon level, and you won't be able to access the meta upgrade tree or any of the other levels. But the money that you earn in the demo will carry over when you purchase the full game. So as soon as you purchase the full game, any currency you have banked, you can just start immediately spending on the meta upgrades. So if you don't have the money or whatever, or you're not ready to buy the game, you can just play the demo over and over and over again, bank up a bunch of currency, and then go right into right into the game. So that the thing that I have to be careful of before I release the demo is, like, I want to make sure my save data, like, I'm capturing all the data that I need to capture in the save from the demo. So this card that I just created, log boolean when dungeon has been beaten so that graveyard can be unlocked. If you beat the dungeon level during the demo, I need to save that to your save data so that if you go and purchase the full game, then the graveyard will be automatically unlocked for you. So I need to make sure to log that. And I probably need to do that for every level, but... Ooh, we're getting close to the end of November and I still have a lot of work to do, but I think we'll make it. I think we'll make it. Even Isaac added an arena mode back when... Oh, interesting. Having perm currency also be the in-run currency is fresh. Thanks. Yeah, I was wondering why games don't do this because it seems to work really well. I'm not sure what that reason is. Your composition workflow mimics Unity, right? Like how Unity has components? Yeah, I think so. It's loosely the same. I mean, I would say that Godot Godot's philosophy generally is composition, because you create a modular node tree structure where each node has a different bit of functionality. So my composition workflow is basically just extending the design philosophy that's already baked into Godot. But yeah, I think it does mimic, or it does resemble Unity quite a lot. How are you handling save migration from the demo? There's no migration, so it's just using the same save file. And the only thing that's different is that whether the executable that you're running has the demo flag or not that's what determines what's locked off to you. I really don't like the idea of like save migrations, really scares me. So I'm trying to avoid that if at all possible. Yeah, I understood migration. Yeah, like migrating a data set. I do have some data in the save file, like a version number, so that in case I do need to do a save migration at some point, I can differentiate between versions of the save data. But like I said, I want to avoid save migrations as much as possible, because that makes me very nervous. I mean, DB migrations make me very nervous too. I've done my fair share of DB migrations. Okay. So I'm going to do my rebase and merge through GitHub, because I don't know how to do it from the command line. Don't tell anyone. So I'm on this branch rework assembled gun stats. So I just go to my GitHub and I do a pull request, and then I do a rebase and merge from there. So I maintain the history. The problem is Godot doesn't really like when you switch branches. But seems to be all right, so. Okay, I have an appointment to get to relatively soon, so I'm gonna call the stream right there. But I wanna thank you all for being here, joining me as I'm developing the demo for Gunforged. And I want to say, again, if you want to support my work, please check out the links in the description below. I've got several Udemy courses. That's a great way to financially support me until Gunforged comes out, but also wishlisting Gunforged, liking and subscribing to my YouTube channel, and signing up for my email newsletter at firebelly.com are all great non-financial ways to support me. So thank you all again, and thank you Snupbill again for the super chat. And have a good day, Christopher. Have a good day, Rune, and have a good day, everyone watching. All right,